Chances are, you've heard of the FBI's most wanted list at some point in your life. But let's be real, most of us don't know much beyond it being a roster of bad guys. I was in the same boat, so I dug into some research, and today, I'm breaking down the history of this infamous list and diving deep into every single person on it, why they're there, and just how dangerous they are. Spoiler alert, these folks aren't winning any Citizen of the Year awards. The FBI's most wanted list kicked off back in 1949, born over a dinner conversation between the FBI's director and the editor-in-chief of the International News Service. They were brainstorming ways to catch the FBI's toughest criminals, and the idea was simple but genius. Use the media to spread the word. By putting these names and faces in newspapers, they'd arm civilians with info to tip off law enforcement. The plan worked like a charm. On the very day the first list was published, one of the criminals was nabbed. From that moment, the FBI's most wanted list became a cornerstone of high-stakes justice. Now, landing on this list isn't easy. You don't get there for jaywalking or shoplifting a candy bar. To even be considered, you've got to have committed some seriously heinous crimes, often with a long rap sheet to back it up. We're talking about people who've done things that'll make your skin crawl, and we'll get into some of those stories today. The only ways off this list, you either get caught or you're no longer breathing. Pick your poison. Let's kick off with Alejandro Castillo, the youngest name on the FBI's most wanted list, and trust me, his story is a wild one. Born November 26, 1998 in Arizona, Alejandro's just 26 years old as I record this. He's 5 feet 6 inches, weighs 180 to 190 pounds, Hispanic, and male. What landed this guy on the list at only 17 is straight up shocking. Back in Charlotte, North Carolina, Alejandro worked at a Shoney's restaurant alongside his girlfriend, and get this, his ex-girlfriend Sandy worked there too. Sandy had lent Alejandro some cash, but before he could pay her back, she vanished. The next day, Alejandro and his current girlfriend disappeared too. Coincidence? Hardly. They weren't victims, they were on the run. Here's what went down. Alejandro lured Sandy to meet up, supposedly to settle his debt. That was never the plan. When they met, Alejandro and his girlfriend forced Sandy into a car at gunpoint, drove to an ATM, and made her withdraw money. Then, they took her deep into the woods, where Alejandro murdered her and dumped her body in a ditch. Cold-blooded, right? Alejandro's car was later found abandoned just outside town, likely ditched by the pair. But here's where it gets crazier. Sandy's car turned up all the way in Arizona, clear across the country, also abandoned. That discovery led to surveillance footage showing Alejandro and his girlfriend crossing into Mexico, where he's believed to still be hiding. 3 months after they fled, his girlfriend turned herself in, claiming she woke up one morning and Alejandro had vanished. Is she covering for him, or did he really ditch her? We may never know. Either way, this 17-year-old killer, now 26, is still out there. The FBI's got him on their radar for good reason. This wasn't some impulsive act, it was planned, brutal, and heartless. Alejandro's case shows how someone so young can end up on a list with the worst of the worst. If you've got any leads on this guy, the FBI's all ears, and you might just help bring a murderer to justice, stick around, because the next name on this list is just as chilling. Next up is Donald Eugene Fields II, a guy who looks every bit like he belongs on the FBI's most wanted list. Born July 9th, 1964, he's a white male, standing between 6 feet 0 inches and 6 feet 4 inches, with a scar on his chest and a few tattoos. What got him on this list is downright vile. From 2013 to 2017, Fields allegedly trafficked at least one child in Missouri, knowingly trying to recruit, entice, harbor, transport, and solicit someone he believed was under 18 for sex. In plain terms, he was trying to sell a kid for profit. Sickening stuff. His last known whereabouts? Franklin County, Missouri, but since 2022, he's been reportedly hopping around the country, staying one step ahead. The FBI's been relentless, throwing up billboards, signs, and Facebook ads in every city where they get a tip about him. So far, Fields has been slippery, dodging capture despite the heat. On a brighter note, one of his buyers got nailed and is serving over 30 years after admitting to trading cash, a car, a motorcycle, Christmas gifts, and even vacations for access to a 14-year-old Fields was peddling. That's some justice, but Fields himself, still out there. This case hits hard because it shows how predators can hide in plain sight, moving freely while causing unthinkable harm. The FBI is offering big rewards for any leads that pin this guy down, and I'm hoping he's caught soon. If you know anything about Fields, drop a tip. You could help stop a monster. Stay tuned because the next name on this list is just as wild. Now let's talk about Vitel Homme Innocent. Ironic name, because this guy is anything but innocent. He's a key leader of one of Haiti's most brutal gangs, wreaking havoc for years. His last name literally means innocent man in French, but don't let that fool you. This dude's tied to a string of murders and kidnappings that'll make your stomach turn. In 2021, Vital Homme and his gang teamed up with another crew to pull off a gut punch of a crime. They kidnapped 17 Christian missionaries in Haiti. You might remember this one, it was all over the news. Disturbingly, 5 of those hostages were kids, one barely a year old. Thankfully, they were all freed after someone paid an undisclosed ransom, though the gangs initially demanded $1 million per person. Who knows what deal was struck. With that ransom money, Vital Homme's gang bought weapons, fueling their chaos. Later that year, Haiti's president was assassinated, leaving a power vacuum that led Vital Homme's crew, reportedly up to 600 strong, including kids forced to fight, grow even bolder. This gang's terrorizing Haiti like nobody's business, and Vital Homme's right at the heart of it. Last year, he even let reporters film a documentary showing off his lavish criminal lifestyle, bragging about his rise to power. Talk about bold. It's no shock the FBI is offering $2 million for any tip that leads to his arrest. Based on what this guy's done, that price tag makes total sense. Vital Homme is considered armed and extremely dangerous, and it's easy to see why he's still on the loose. His gang's power rivals Haiti's government. If you've got any leads on this guy, the FBI's waiting. This case is a wild glimpse into Haiti's crime world, and we're just getting started. Next up is another heavy hitter. Let's dive into Wilver Villegas Palomino, a big player in the National Liberation Army, or ELN, a military group tearing it up in Colombia and Venezuela. This isn't some small-time crew. ELN's deep into organized crime, from kidnapping to extortion to blowing up oil pipelines, straight-up eco-terrorism. And in true Colombian style, they've got their hands dirty in the drug trade. Wilver himself, he's accused of some nasty stuff like killing multiple human rights activists in Colombia, plus narco-terrorism, drug distribution, and murder. His crew's a major reason why drugs are flooding into the southern US, and that's got the FBI's attention. The ELN's chaos is next level, and Wilver's right up there calling shots. His crimes have caused so much damage that the FBI is dangling a massive $5 million reward for any tip that nails him. That's how bad they want this guy. Problem is, there's zero info on where Wilver's hiding. Could be Colombia, Venezuela, or who knows where else. If you've got a clue, you could be $5 million richer, no joke. This guy's story shows how far organized crime can reach, from local terror to international drug pipelines. Wilver's a ghost, but the FBI is hoping someone, somewhere, knows something. Stick with me. The next name on this list is a whole different kind of crook. Meet Ruja Ignatova, a Bulgarian woman who might seem like small potatoes compared to the murderers on this list, but don't be fooled, she's a master con artist. Ruja posed as an entrepreneur, founding OneCoin Limited, a Bulgaria-based company pushing a so-called cryptocurrency. If you're thinking scam, the second you hear crypto, you're not wrong. OneCoin was a massive Ponzi scheme, bilking over $4 billion from investors worldwide. Ruja's hustle was built on lies, making false claims to lure people into pouring money into her fake currency. Think FTX-level scandal, but earlier and just as dirty. Her scheme ran for years, convincing folks to invest by hyping OneCoin as the next big thing. In reality, it was a house of cards, defrauding people across the globe. By 2017, the law caught up, and Ruja was charged in the U.S. District Court with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering conspiracy, and securities fraud. That's a laundry list of financial crimes, and she's been on the run ever since October 12th, 2017. The FBI is so eager to nab her, they're offering up to $5 million for any tip leading to her arrest or conviction. That's how big this scam was. Ruja's case is a wild reminder of how greed can mask itself as innovation. Cryptocurrency isn't the villain, but scams like OneCoin, total garbage. If you've got any leads on Ruja, the FBI is waiting, and you could cash in big. Next up, we've got another grim story to unpack. Let's get into Arnoldo Jimenez, a guy whose story is just plain grim. On May 11th, 2012, Arnoldo tied the knot with his wife in a joyful ceremony. But just one day later, on May 12th, he allegedly did the unthinkable. Stabbed her to death in the back of his Maserati. Then, he dragged her body to her apartment, left it in the bathtub, and vanished. The details are chilling. She was still in her wedding dress when her family, worried after she stopped answering calls and didn't pick up her kids from school, prompted a police wellness check. That's when they found her. Arnoldo's trail went cold fast, but phone records traced him across multiple states, ending near the Mexican border in Texas. After that, nothing. He's believed to be hiding in Mexico, but despite 12 years and countless tips, the FBI's no closer to catching him. This case hits hard because it's so personal. A marriage turned into a murder in less than 24 hours. Arnoldo's betrayal is the kind of story that sticks with you, and it's infuriating that he's still out there. The FBI is desperate for leads, and they're hoping someone knows something to bring this guy to justice. If you got any info on Arnoldo, drop a tip. You could help lock up a killer. Hang tight because the next name on this list is just as shocking. Let's talk about Omar Alexander Cardenas, a case that's short but seriously disturbing. At just 29 years old during this recording, Omar is one of the younger names on the FBI's most wanted list, and his crime, pure audacity. On August 15th, 2019, he strolled into an open-air shopping center, stood outside a barber shop, pulled a pistol from his pants, and shot a man in the head, killing him instantly. Then, he casually waddled away like nothing happened. The whole thing was caught on camera, clear as day, which makes it insane that this guy's still free. Omar is 5 feet 7 inches, 300 pounds, and was even younger when he pulled this off. Despite the brazen murder being recorded, not much else is known about him. The FBI has been flooded with tips since he made the most wanted list, but none have pinned him down. Best guess? Like others we've covered, he likely fled the country to dodge justice. A murder in broad daylight on video, and he's still out there. That's wild. If you got any info on Omar, the FBI's all ears. Drop a tip, and you could help catch a killer. This story's a gut punch, but the next one's just as intense, so stick around. Let's dive into Yulan Adonai Arcaga Carayas, the alleged head of MS-13 in Honduras, one of the world's most ruthless criminal outfits. Active in Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, and even the US, MS-13 is a nightmare, dealing in drug trafficking, human trafficking, extortion, kidnapping, and brutal violence. Yulan's at the top, calling the shots for a laundry list of chaos, including smuggling multi-ton loads of cocaine into the United States and murder. His rap sheet's long and it's ugly. Here's where it gets wild. Yulan was nabbed in Honduras and charged with murdering 2 prosecutors. During his trial, 20 armed men, dressed as anti-gang unit cops, stormed the courtroom and opened fire. 4 police officers were killed, and Yulan, he walked out a free man. That's the kind of power MS-13 wields in South America. It's scary stuff, rivaling the government itself. Some even say the two are tangled up together. At 5 feet 5 inches and 160 pounds, Yulan might not look like much, but he's one of the most dangerous men in Honduras, maybe all of South America. The FBI is offering up to $5 million for information leading to his arrest or conviction, and it's no wonder. This guy's a kingpin of crime. If you know anything about Yulan, drop a tip. You could cash in big and help stop a monster. This story's intense, but the next one's just as grim, so stay tuned. Next up is Alexis Flores, a Honduran whose crime is just gut-wrenching. Standing at 5 feet 4 inches and weighing only 130 pounds, this guy might seem unassuming, but what he's accused of is horrific. In July 2000, Flores allegedly kidnapped and strangled a 5-year-old girl in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her body was found weeks later in August, lifeless in the basement of an abandoned apartment building. This case is the kind that keeps you up at night. Back then, evidence was scarce, just a strange t-shirt at the scene, and the case went cold for years. It wasn't until 2007, when DNA tech caught up, that they got a break. That t-shirt's DNA matched a sample from a guy they'd arrested years earlier for shoplifting and forgery. The suspect, Alexis Flores. Problem was, when they realized it was him, Flores was long gone. He'd been deported years prior for unrelated charges, and now nobody knows where he is. The fact that someone could do something so brazen in broad daylight and slip away without a trace is just wild. Flores' case shows how monsters can hide behind a quiet exterior. The FBI is desperate for any lead to bring him to justice. If you know anything about this guy, drop a tip. You could help solve a heartbreaking crime. We're almost done, but the final name's another heavy one, so stick with me. Let's wrap up with Bhadresh Kumar Chitambai Patel, whose story echoes our first entry but hits just as hard. He worked at a Dunkin' Donuts with his wife, and that's where things turned tragic. Customers walked in, found no employees, and called the cops. When police checked the back, they found Patel's wife, lifeless. Security footage was crystal clear. Bhadresh Kumar and his wife went into the back room, but only he walked out. Then he bolted. He was last spotted taking a taxi from a New Jersey hotel to a New York train station, and poof, gone. The FBI is desperate to find him, but no leads have stuck. It's wild that someone can commit such a bold crime, caught on camera, and still walk free. Digging into this list, 2 things hit me. It's insane how people pull off these brazen acts and vanish, and it's heartbreaking that fleeing to Mexico seems like a free pass for some. If you know anything about Patel or anyone else we've covered, drop a tip to the FBI. You might get a big reward and help bring justice.